Grace, mercy, and peace be to all of you. God our Father, and Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. So I don't know about you, but I give a lot of thought to God's grace, about what it means for me, and what it means for all of you. Because without grace, I think we'd be in a bad place, yeah? You think so? So I think back to trips in the car. And you're going to say, what has this got to do with grace? Well, let me get there. Trips in the car with my mom and dad and my sister. Maybe on hot days like this in the summertime, I was trying to go out for some type of vacation event. And it was really sticky. And the trip seemed to take forever. And either my sister or I would go, are we there yet? You all heard that in the car, right? Maybe we've all done it. We can still do it. Are we there yet? Well, no, it's left a half an hour ago. It's 2 hours to get to the home. And then, maybe us 15 minutes later would go, are we now there? And our poor parents would be like, simmer down, no, it's not time yet. Other events like this could play out in our minds for what happened to us when we were young. And I'm sure for every single one of us here, we can remember something that one of our parents did for us or continued to do for us. Maybe one of our brothers or sisters, or a mentor that we developed somewhere. But there is always in all of our lives someone or some group of people who, in the midst of our being a nuisance, showed grace for us. And we can probably all remember that person or persons, just take a moment, who they might be, who stuck with us, even though we were not that graceful, but who were relentlessly grace for us. And that leads me to what's going on, I think, today in our readings. If we look at Jesus in the gospel for today, we hear that he's on his way to Jerusalem. He's got his mindset that he needs to leave. And he's traveling with his disciples, and they stop off for a moment in a Samaritan village. Now, Jesus, even though he's focused on going towards Jerusalem, is still willing to be there for the people, although he can't stay there for a long time. What we hear happens in that first part of the reading today is that the Samaritan villagers get miffed at Jesus because they understand that he can't spend a lot of time with them. So they're like, well, get out of here. Get out of here. And that's when we hear that John and James go, here, hey, Jesus, he wants us to rain down some fire on them to burn them up. Well, that's not very graceful. Jesus, you heard, turned, and he spoke sternly to those guys. And I can only imagine maybe what he said was, what about grace? The grace that's been shown to you. What about the love that's been shown to you? Is that graceful and loving and great fire? Because you see, Jesus understands that we're not always fully engaged on our journey of life with God, and we forget what's going on from time to time. And I think for those Samaritan villagers, that's what happened. They weren't quite understanding exactly who Jesus was and what he had to do. And they wanted Jesus for themselves at that point, which was a little bit selfish, but hey, it was really popular. And so when they said what they said, if they knew more, they probably wouldn't have done that. But Jesus understood that they weren't along the curve when they were standing there. He was grace for them. He let it go, hoping that they would probably get it later on. So he turned James and John's attention elsewhere, gave a little rebuke to be more graceful. As we go through life, how many of us get stuck on a final destination? Oh, I think the answer is yes. Everybody here has got something in mind where they want to be, right? Dave, what's the place you want to be in a month? And Ryan said yes. I think all of us can pick something out where we want to be. But when that happens, and I'm not picking on Dave, so I'm not going to go back to him, but I'm not saying I picked on Dave this week. Along our journey to get to that place, when we put blinders up, get maybe so focused on that intent that we're leaving other things to the side that maybe we should be worrying about or maybe you get focused on that end point instead of enjoying the journey. So that the journey becomes for us discomfort, and then we provide discomfort for others because we're trying to get to the end point. Jesus was on a journey to Jerusalem for our sakes. As Galatians said very clearly this morning, Jesus died for us to take away our sin, to give us hopefulness, and this is all by grace, right? Martin Luther's done a great job of helping us understand all of Christianity today, that we are made right or justified by grace through our faith. And that trip to Jerusalem was a grace-filled trip for us. And even though he was going to Jerusalem, he did not forget about grace on the way. And we see that grace was poured out upon the Samaritans. And that grace was poured out upon James and John so that they would understand that we're all in this together. That we should take time on the journey to love and to be one. God pursues us with relentless grace, no matter what we do. And we do that on our journey. Can we show grace relentlessly for other people? Or do we get stuck in the things that St. Paul talked about in the Church of Galatians today? St. Paul talks about the fact that if we're guided by the Spirit, we're not going to carry out selfish desires. In other words, we're not going to go off track on the journey. If we follow God and live in grace, then we're not going to get caught up in casting spells. You cast spells before? I don't think so. But some people maybe do try to cast spells. Some of us hate sometimes. It's a hard word. But sometimes we do that. Some of us get caught up in fighting. Sometimes we obsess about things, don't we? We obsess maybe about the end point of the journey and forget to enjoy the journey, to be grace on that journey. Sometimes we lose our temper. I do that. Karen deals with that and a lot of times when I lose my temper. And there are a bunch of other things in here. Competitiveness, conflict, selfishness, the list goes on. But through all of these things that we can get caught up in, God's relentless grace pursues us. And Jesus is our example of how to be, how to live on the journey, not forgetting about others, remembering that God is with us now and forever, and living out the call to be loving every day. We are called to be imitators of Christ. As it says up top of your bulletin, to be living humans, to be Christ's embodiment in the world of grace, love every day, and love others. And that's where our text point today. To not get overrun by the journey, but to be thankful for the journey, to seek His blessings. And on that journey, to live out of grace, even as we set the destination. God is here. God is here. Let us give thanks. Thanks be to God in Christ for this love. Together we say, Amen.